When will Trey Lance start? What a loaded question that is, especially since there's no real answer. We are just guessing, and that's okay. So this is a fun conversation that we have had for months and weeks and so on. But for me, let's start with what Kyle Shanahan has stated. Trey's our backup quarterback. This isn't the preseason. We aren't going back and forth the whole time. There's not a big decision going into any week. We put in a game plan for the starting quarterback, and the backup needs to be able to do that if he's hurt. And that, I'm assuming Kyle Shanahan's just tired of the talk of when is Trey Lance going to start? He's better than Jimmy G. Jimmy G's trash, blah, 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 blah. Whatever the people on Twitter and YouTube have stated. But just looking at the next two games to start the timeline for me, and that's basically what we can do at this point is just look at what the next 2 weeks show us. And of course, we're playing the Seahawks and then the Cardinals, and then we're going into the bye. For me, this is the start of when we can look at potentially seeing Trey Lance. Not necessarily in these two games, but going into the Colts game after the bye. If the 49ers lose these two games, I don't see how Trey Lance isn't the starter going into the Colts game. This is basically as far as I would give Jimmy Garoppolo if we can't get the running game started, if Jimmy Garoppolo can't be consistent and, not make boneheaded mistakes. And he hasn't, in the most part, outside of this past game. I wouldn't say that interception that he threw, when he was throwing to Kittle down the field and the Packers corner kind of came out of nowhere and just stole it. I don't necessarily fault him for that. I'm okay with taking chances. The ball did flutter a little bit, but so be it. You're not going to throw a perfect ball every time. The fumble was a massive issue later in the game, kind of killed a drive that we were starting to get going. And then the inconsistency early in the games is a big issue, especially since the running game has not happened, especially since with the injuries with Elijah Mitchell, the injuries that we had with Mostert. Trey Sermon is coming in. Yeah, he did get drafted in the 3rd round, but he's not necessarily the best at outside zone because he doesn't have the speed. Once he does the cut, you kind of needed that second gear to kind of get a couple extra yards. It just doesn't seem like he has it. And I don't really necessarily fault him. He's more of a power runner. Yes, he does come from a zone blocking scheme with Ohio State, but it's not necessarily what you're trying to do with him is that outside zone, but so be it. Once Trey starts, he'll probably be able to get it going. But the issue is the run game is not as efficient or effective as it has been even in 2019 when we were able to just run up and destroy the Packers with the running game. And to me, that can be fixed with having someone like Trey Lance start. And again, I don't want to bash Jimmy Garoppolo. For me, I wanted Jimmy G to start the season and then transition Trey Lance at some point. And I know people would say, well, once Jimmy G's starting, he may not give the job to Trey Lance. He might not give it up. But come on. I mean, it was bound to happen. Either Jimmy is going to get injured or he's going to have inconsistent play. It was bound to happen. And that's okay because Trey Lance was able to start, the first 7 weeks as the backup on the scout team and learn and let the game slow down because Kyle Shanahan's offense is very complex. They did simplify the verbiage, but still understanding the whole offense, even though Trey has supposedly, understood, he understands it at this point into the preseason from my understanding, but for me, you bring Trey Lance in, you're able to do some different things that we're not able to do. Look, what they're doing to stop the 49ers offense right now is play quarters on defense, any bootlegs. The running game has been stopped. Eventually, defenses do figure out these offenses and able to come up with different things to stop the running game. Jimmy can't throw on the outside very well. He's over the middle, things like that. So you kind of know that there is a expiration date for Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's not necessarily because he's a bad quarterback. He's a good quarterback, or at least above average. You can win with Jimmy Garoppolo, but you're not winning because of Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's a big issue. If our running game's not there, if Jimmy Garoppolo can't just, put the game on his back and just throw 30 times a game and win it for us, that's a big problem. And I want to basically go over a thing here with you guys, if I can get this going. Here we go. Okay, so if you look at this tweet, John Nidikoff said he doesn't know if Jimmy Garoppolo has ever completed 30 passes in the game. So he decided to look it up, and Jimmy Garoppolo has only thrown twice, basically, versus the Titans in 2017 and Cardinals in 2019, more than 30 times. And that is a big issue if if our defense can't keep the score low, if we're having to compete versus these quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, if Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, things like that, where their high-powered offenses can potentially score 30, 40 points fairly quickly. So now, can Trey Lance do that? Especially throw more than 30 times a game? If we have to rely on him to win, and that's a tough ask for a rookie, especially one who has only thrown 359 passes in college. So let me actually state, if you see here, these are Trey Lance's attempts per game. It looks like he's only thrown more than 30 times in one game, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't do it in the NFL. This is just purely, I want to compare Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance and show you that he also really hasn't as well. So I understand the understanding of keeping Jimmy Garoppolo as the quarterback, but I think the problem with that is you can basically stack the box, stop the run, don't let basically receivers get open across the middle, let Jimmy, give him the option to throw on the outside, which he doesn't necessarily do very well. So I just think after the bye week is the perfect time for Trey Lance to become the starting quarterback for the 49ers. You give Jimmy Garoppolo 2 more chances. The Seattle game, the Cardinals game. You lose both of them. You lose one of them, you might want to do it anyways. Let's say the 49ers beat the Seahawks, you lose to the Cardinals. We're 3-2. That's all right. Maybe we can move into Jimmy Garoppolo going into the bye. But I would, we have an easy schedule down the line. We have some really, I think we play the Texans. We have the Jaguars. We have some easy competition later in the season where we can start getting Trey comfortable with starting, because I personally think there's more options in the offense with Trey Lance than with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just going to basically mean when Kyle Shanahan feels like he's ready, and I don't think Trey Lance is ever going to just be ready to start. I think you kind of just have to throw him in and let him, feel the fire. We'll see. He'll get baptized by the fire. So for me, if we lose to the Seahawks, if we lose to the Cardinals, I fully expect Trey Lance to be the starter for the Colts game coming out of the bye. So with that, if you guys want to pop down your opinion, that's cool. Hey, if you guys don't agree with me, that's okay. I'm just a fan. I'm not anything, I'm not a writer. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a guy who has an opinion. And if you don't like it, that's cool. If you have an opinion, go ahead and throw it down in the comments. What you think is going to happen this season, and when will Trey Lance become the starter? I appreciate you guys' time. Have a good one.